do what I did. If I can't get back, there might not be a future.
What up, y'all? It's your boy, Mr. Mar Sharp, Short Man Filmworks in the building, and we have another episode of the Everyday Man's Film Reviews for you guys this afternoon. I want to say this evening. I'm used to saying this evening, but this afternoon. All right, here we are. We are here with one of the movies that I've been waiting to see ever since I seen the trailer at the Super Bowl in January, and y'all know I did a video on it of my reaction to the trailer. So now it's finally here 6 months later, well 7 months later now because it's July. So it's finally here. I finally got a chance to see the movie. We're going to be talking about 2023's release of The Flash, starring Ezra Miller, Michael Keaton, Michael Shannon, and a couple other cats in there as well. All right, so I'm going to say where can I start off with this movie? Well, first and foremost, the movie came out last month, which was June 16th, and today is July 14th. So it took me about a month to really settle in and want to review this movie because I've seen a lot of reviews. I've seen a lot of the stories of saying that this is one of the biggest box office flops for a superhero movie, which for me, I didn't feel like the movie wasn't that bad, but we're gonna get to that. But yeah, it took me about a month to really kind of just hone in and really wanted to see, what was everybody else's take on this movie. And I watched a couple of reviews, and even me watching a couple of the reviews, a lot of the reviews that I've watched hasn't been that bad. And even from my own personal experience, I don't think the movie was bad at all. So what I've been seeing about a couple of news flashes that's come across my phone about the movie being bad, it wasn't a bad movie. So I really don't know what people be looking for in some of these movies, but to me, it wasn't a bad movie at all. So let's go ahead and let's dive into it. All right. So I went to see this movie a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I've seen it twice. I've seen it twice because, upon seeing it the first time, you're going to see things that's not going to catch your attention. And then when you see it the second time, I caught a lot of things the second time around when I end up seeing the movie. And seeing it the second time, I liked it even more. You know what I mean? So, starting out with the movie, man, we start out with Barry Allen, and we're already into this like kind of post Justice League type situation where he's been a part of the Justice League for a minute, and we see his lifestyle and what he's going through now, and what he's dealing with, and basically what he's dealing with his own situation of dealing with his mama being murdered and his father being in prison, being wrongfully imprisoned for being convicted for the murder of his mother, which down the line we find out it isn't true at all. And for those of y'all who haven't seen this movie, like I said, it's been a month, so if you haven't seen this movie already, I'm going to throw some spoilers in here. And I figured those who wanted to see this movie went to see it already, so the stuff I'm going to talk about, if you've seen it, then y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, then if I ruined some stuff for y'all, sorry, it is what it is. But like I said, getting back into the story with dealing with Barry, he's dealing with the fact that his mother was murdered, and he's trying to find ways to free his father, who's wrongfully imprisoned for the death of his mother. So in the event of him going back to the house, he has a little flashback. He thinks about his mama, and it causes him to get so angry that he goes into this I don't want to say like this speed bubble, so to say, but he goes into this little, I guess I want to call it a speed bubble. He goes into this speed bubble where he goes back into time, and he realizes, hey, look, I can move so fast that I can bend the laws of physics, bend the laws of physics, and bend the laws of time. And he finds out that he actually can go back by what happened previously in the movie. He went through a certain situation where he had to go from Central City all the way to Gotham City, and he went in and saved a whole bunch of babies from falling from a hospital, which is done with a whole lot of CG, which is, it's done with a lot of CG. I'm jumping, but I'm gonna get to that. So he finds out he can go back in time, and when he finds out he can go back in time, he says to himself, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna go back to where I can actually go back to saving my mother, and she doesn't have to die." And in the event of him going back, he actually changes events and goes through this. He changes the events, and it changes the whole trajectory of what's going on. And basically, we're dealing with another multiverse. We're dealing with another multiverse movie, which is fine. I don't have a problem with these multiverse movies, which a lot of times, you have to throw out reality with a lot of these multiverse movies. And even with this movie, I go into these movies like this with a suspension of disbelief. As I said, with a lot of these movies, I go into it with the fact that, okay, a lot of this is not going to be based in reality. It's a comic book movie. It's based in the fantasy, so where it being based in the fantasy, of course, a lot of things I'm just not going to take seriously. I'm going to take it seriously in the events of it being in that comic book universe, but I'm not going to take it seriously like it's going on right now. But I feel like with this movie, the way they explained the multiverse, well, the way that Batman or Michael Keaton explained the multiverse, I got a little bit more of a simplified, concrete direction of what the multiverse is. You know what I mean? And like I said, I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the movie for what it was, for what it is, and I more than likely I can't wait till it come on. I can't wait till it comes start streaming, because I really did enjoy this movie. I love the way that the story was told. There's a lot of emotional aspects inside this movie, especially between Barry and his mother, and how he feels, by him losing her, and him and her being gone for so long, and then when he finally sees her, it's like it drums up so much emotion inside of Barry. You know what I mean? But with him going through this multiverse, he runs into another version of himself. He runs into a younger version of himself, which turns out to be the younger version of Barry is a very annoying. He's very annoying, very obnoxious, man. But you kind of could look at it like, okay, he's a younger version. He really doesn't know what's going on. The younger version of himself doesn't really know what's going on, and then he meets the older version of himself, and he finds out, hey, listen, I got these powers, and he kind of takes it almost like with a little bit of a grain of salt until it starts to get a little bit more serious down the line inside of the movie. But yeah, I love the fact that they had both of these Barrys interacting with each other, and to me, I think that was a strong point of this movie, because you essentially see the same person, but you're looking at a different person. You're looking at two different versions of the same person, which a lot of us are like that. A lot of us probably would never want to go back to who we were when we were younger versus where we are in our lives now, unless you was doing some wild, crazy shit back in the day, and you're like, okay, I'm a whole lot better now than what I am back in the day. Or if it was the total reverse, you was doing a whole lot better when you was younger, and you're doing a whole lot of crazy shit now in your older age. But y'all get where I'm getting at. But I love the dynamic of seeing those two characters. And I can tell you right now, man, Ezra Miller did a great job playing against himself. You know what I mean? And I think that was amazing, man. I think that was amazing how that was done. And kudos to the screenwriter for creating a story like this and creating the dynamic between the two. I love the fact that you could see what older Barry was trying to get across with younger Barry, especially toward the end of the film, where you see they're going through this huge battle, and you see that younger Barry wants to keep on fixing what's going wrong. And that reminded me of what was the Marvel movie, Doctor Strange, where he kept going back, and that kind of gave me a little bit of reminiscent vibes of Doctor Strange. But I do like the way it was done in this, because Barry kept going back and kept trying to fix it, and any way he looked at it, it was one of them things where it's inevitable. You can't change what's going to happen in this version of the universe. No matter how many times you keep on trying to go back, you're gonna just keep getting the same result. And I love the fact that that older Barry saw that it couldn't be changed, but younger Barry, with that young that young naive thinking that he couldn't. He kept trying to change it, which eventually ends up turning him into something else. When you see that in the movie, it ends up turning him into another entity. And to see the build up of that, I love the fact to see the build up of that. Getting to the getting, as I said, man, I enjoyed the movie immensely, man. Ezra Miller, as I said, Ezra Miller did a good job, man. I think he played Barry Allen in a very believable, kind of awkward dude. He's kind of like, okay, he's, of course you see him. He's a nerd. He's pretty much geeky, and you see that in his mannerisms, and you see that in the way he comes across. I think Ezra Miller brought it across in a very. I think Ezra Miller did a good job at that, especially when he started playing the younger version of himself. He really brought that obnoxious, just annoying dude. He even says it about himself in the movie, like, wow, is this how I really am? He said, I can see why people say certain things about me, because being around me for too long is really starting to get on his own nerves. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that, man. Y'all know I enjoy Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton, to me, I'm not going to say Michael Keaton was the best part of the movie, but I love the fact that they brought back Michael Keaton as this nostalgic Batman. Now, granted, you have Ben Affleck in here playing his version of Batman, which is at the beginning of the film. You have his version of Batman, which we leave off from Justice League, which is fine. I didn't think they was going to bring Ben Affleck back, because I saw the first trailer, and then after that, I saw the second trailer one time, and I'm like, okay, when I seen that Ben Affleck Batman was going to be in it, I just stopped watching the trailer, because I said, I don't want this to ruin the movie for me. And I figured that Ben Affleck's Batman would be in there for a certain amount of time, but they didn't overdo him. He was in the movie for about, I say maybe about 15, 20 minutes during the opening scene, and then he had another scene where Barry realizes he goes back in time in the whole day, and he has this conversation with Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne tells him, hey, listen, I know you want to I know you want to go back and change things, but you can change one thing, which means you can change everything. You can destroy everything, So seeing Ben Affleck's Batman was cool to me. I like the fact that they put him in there. But I also really, really love Michael Keaton's version of Batman. And to me, I say this to the day I die, Michael Keaton is the best, to me, is the best Batman. And maybe it's the nostalgia speaking to me, because that was my version of Batman growing up. Even though I watched the TV show, because like I said, they ran it in reruns. If you saw my Batman review, I explained that they ran the old TV show in reruns before the movie came out. So it kind of familiarized myself with that version of Batman in the 60s. But for me, my version of Batman is always going to be Michael Keaton. Always going to be Michael Keaton. And to me, it's like Michael Keaton just fits right into it like a glove, man. You haven't seen him in a Batman uniform since Batman Returns. And when you see him in this, it brings back so many memories and of nostalgia, and you can't help but to have a smile on your face, man. There were moments where Michael Keaton would do certain things, and it just had me smiling throughout the whole movie. And then, when he's in the Batwing, and he's doing things while he's flying, and he gets launched from the Batwing, and he has no parachute. He opens up the wings, and just to the way Michael Keaton walks, man, the way he's Batman to me. He is just Batman, and the way it was worked into the movie, where they had little callbacks to what he did in the first movie. He had the callbacks of course, he had the iconic line, as always, yes, I'm Batman. You can't do that without Michael Keaton. And then you had the line where they're about to get on this little elevator, this little lift, and he asks everybody how much you weigh. And that goes back to the first movie where he takes Vicky Vale and he asks her how much she weighs, and she grabs on him, and he gets, he goes up on the ledge with the grappling hook. And then another callback where he was talking to Joker. And I don't think this callback was necessary, though, because I thought about that. And I said, well, I don't really think that was necessary to the movie, but I know it was done as fan service. When he says, you want to get nuts, then, come on, let's get nuts. And in the first film, it was a little bit more, it was more relevant because of Joker and him being kind of like this nutty character. But to me now, I think it could have been, they could have did without it. I think they did enough fan service and enough callbacks before that line that you really didn't need that. You know, you had the callback with the Batman line, the how much you weigh, you know, the gadgets. You know, there's another part where Ezra Miller's about to jump on Batman, and he kind of lifts up his leg, but he does it in his Batman way by just grabbing him and just taking off. You know what I mean? So all the callbacks that was done for Michael Keaton's Batman, I think it was awesome to see that. It was awesome to have a little piece of my childhood back into this movie. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed that. Supergirl, I liked. I didn't write down the actress's name. I liked her version of Supergirl. Her version of Supergirl was more like a dark. I got like more like a dark feeling from her version of Supergirl. She was more like a. I want to say she was more like an enforcer, but that was her role in the movie. She was actually brought to Earth to protect Superman's character in this version of the multiverse. You know, so it's like it's almost this version of the multiverse. Superman doesn't even exist, and actually in this version of the multiverse, Superman is killed. You know what I mean? So she comes across more as a more dark version, a dark character in this one, because she was really I don't want to say she was mean, but she was just she won't want to be fucked with in this movie. She wasn't want to be messed with, man. And I like that about her too. You know what I mean? I like that about her too, which eventually, I don't want to say it leads to her demise, but I'm trying to think if that would that be the cause of her demise. Well, no, that wasn't the cause of her demise, because General Zod basically was after her in this version of the multiverse, whereas, as we all know, in Man of Steel, he was after Superman in Man of Steel. So, you know, and that's why I said I caught on to a lot of things the second time around that I went to see this movie. I was catching on to a lot of stuff, and seeing it the second time around, I'm like, oh, okay, now I know why they moved it along in that direction. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not much of a comic book geek. You know, I've read them a little bit I've read a couple of them when I was younger, but I'm not too heavy into the lore. I'm not too heavy into the background stories and a lot of the villains and a lot of the superheroes. I know a little bit about it. And I say I know a little bit. I touch the surface. You got some people out there that really can go in depth with it. You know what I mean? But for what I know and what I've seen, and based on the movies that I've seen, you know, I enjoyed it for what it's worth. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I enjoyed Ezra Miller's character. I enjoyed Ezra Miller as Barry. I enjoyed Michael Keaton being Batman, of course. I enjoyed that, of course. You know, I love Supergirl. I loved her. Like I said, I love that dark, menacing take on her. You know what I mean? I wasn't mad about it at all. You know what I mean? Michael Shannon makes his return as General Zod, and I loved his General Zod. I loved his General Zod in Man of Steel. You know, he still has that same presence. You know what I mean? So I love General Zod overall in this film as well. I'm trying to think of what else can I say about this movie that I enjoy. You know what I mean? I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the comedy. You know, it was a mix of comedy along with a lot of emotional tones, and a lot of the emotional tones comes from Ezra Miller's character, from Barry and his mother, and his connection with his mother, and how much he felt for his mother, how much he missed her. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed I enjoyed that dynamic between them two. You know what I mean? It was a couple moments that almost made you be like, kind of almost make you choke up a little bit, you know, because you see he misses his mother, you see he misses his father who's in prison, and you know he's dealing with a lot. You know, he's dealing with a lot of dealing with that, you know, and he's been dealing with it since he was a child, because his mother was killed when he was a child. So you got to think, from the time he was a child all the way till his adult life, he's been dealing with this trauma, you know, that pretty much makes him. And you know, and that line was said inside of the movie twice. It was said by Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne that, you know, the scars make you, and it was made, and in the same line was told by Michael Keaton that, hey, listen, the scars make you. They make you become who you need to become. You know, had you not go through that pain, had you not go through that trauma, you wouldn't be who you are. You know, so with Barry dealing with that, you see that he's dealing with that, and with him dealing with that, he has to cope in the best way, in the best way possible, But I like that emotional aspect of the story. I like the comedy. There was jokes inside here that some of them were a little bit corny, but then some of them were also funny. I found myself laughing at a lot of the jokes, and kind of giggling at a little the silliness of it. You know what I mean? But overall, the mix of to me, the mix of action, the mix of comedy, the mix of emotional stuff, it worked for me. I liked the way it worked. And like I said, if I didn't like this movie, I wouldn't have saw it twice. And in seeing it twice, like I said, it made me enjoy it more. I enjoyed it the second time around. I enjoyed it the first time I saw it. And then when I seen it again, I enjoyed it more because now I was looking like I was catching the stuff that I missed the first time around. So I really did enjoy this movie. You know what I mean? Props to Andy Muschietti, who did he did It Chapter 1 and he did Chapter 2. Props to him for his direction on this film. I don't know, because you hear a lot of things about DC and DC trying to get it together. And as I said before, man, I think people really give DC a hard way to go. Now, I haven't seen Shazam, the second version yet, and I heard that was garbage. But I'm going to check that out myself because people said this movie was garbage. And I'm like, well, garbage to me. I liked it. So I want to check out Shazam, the Fury of the Gods. I want to check that out. I want to check out Black Adam. So, as I said, man, I feel like DC movies get the short end of the stick, man. I really do. I heard a lot of people who shit on Man of Steel. And I'm like, wow, Man of Steel was to me, Man of Steel was a great movie. Same thing with Justice League. Once again, I haven't watched the 4-hour version of this movie yet. I have to make time to sit in front of a TV and watch this movie for 4 hours. But I want to do a back-to-back comparison of these two movies. I want to watch the theatrical version that came out, and then I want to compare it to the 4-hour version just to see the differences and if it creates a different tone. You know what I mean? But we'll get to that. I want to stick to the Flash right now. But I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed it for what it's worth. And will I see it again? Yeah, I'll see it again because I'm pretty sure there's going to be some things that I missed this second time I saw it, and I want to watch it again so I can catch a lot more of what's going on. I wish they would have kept this DC universe, because I hear that I believe with James Gunn, he's taking over creative control over the DC universe, and I just kind of feel like if they would have kept their ducks in a row and just kind of just really honed in and just focused on what they had, it could have really took a different turn. You know what I mean? I still feel like this Flash movie did go in another direction, and I enjoyed the direction that it was going in. And I think for what was done with it, more could have been done with it. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. So getting to my scale, I give the Flash 3 thumbs. I give it 3 thumbs. And one of the reasons, because I didn't address this, one of the reasons why I won't give it, I want to give it a 4. I want to give it a 4. It was a good movie. Like I said, I saw it twice. It was a good movie. I enjoyed the movie. I want to give it 3.5, but the reason why I won't give it 3.5 is the CG. Some of the CG looked amazing. It did. Like, I think between both versions of Ezra Miller, I don't know how they pulled that off. But you really get the sense that they are really talking to each other. Like, I don't know if they swap faces. I don't know what they did to make that work. But to me, that aspect of the film was excellent. It worked. It was beautiful. Some of the battle scene between the Flash and General Zod's generals and that whole scene at the end of the movie, toward the end of the movie, that was enjoyable. I loved the CG on that. But it was just some moments where I was just like, okay. It kind of looked like, as I heard in other reviews, it looked like it wasn't finished. Like there's a lot of spaces in the movie where you can see, okay, yeah, that's CG. Okay, yeah, that's CG. Oh, yeah, that's heavy CG. You know what I mean? You can see it. You know what I mean? Like there's certain parts where General Zod is fighting Supergirl, and you can see the faces. The faces look computer generated. It doesn't look realistic. It looks computer generated, and it's to be expected. It's a superhero movie. I'm not expecting it to be practical, but some CG is like, it's a little suspect. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, it wasn't suspect to the point where it took me out of the movie. Because I heard that on a lot of reviews, like, the CG, some of the CG was so bad that it took people out of the movie. And I'm like, well, how's it, to me, I'm like, how's it going to take you out of the movie when you know it's a CG heavy movie? So how's it really going to take you out of the movie? You know what I mean? But, you know, it is what it is. It didn't take me out of the movie because I expected it. I expected the CG to be in there. Some CG is going to be bad. Some CG is going to be good. Everything can't be perfect, you know. So because of that CG, I would give this movie 3 thumbs up. Like I said, I want to give it 3.5. Had the CG been a little bit better, a little bit more believable, I probably would have gave this thing 3.5 thumbs up. You know what I mean? I probably would have gave it that. But we're gonna stick with the 3 thumbs up. You know, I enjoyed the acting for what it was with Ezra Miller, his interaction with his mama, his father, Michael Keaton. You know, with Supergirl. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the acting. I enjoyed the direction. And you know, like I said, it was one of the movies. To me, it was one of them fun movies. You know, I found myself being in the movie, and I found myself being in the movie, enjoying it and having fun. You know, I'm having fun because of the silly CG. I'm having fun because of the silly jokes. I'm having fun in the movie. I enjoyed the movie. You know what I mean? So would I tell people to go out and go check the movie out? Yeah, go check it out. You know, don't listen. And I say this for all movies. When you see movies and they get bad reviews or they get good reviews, check the movie out for yourself. Form your own opinion and form your own judgment of what you feel like the movie is going to be. You know what I mean? Because one movie might be for somebody and another movie might, and what might not be for somebody might be for you, and what might be for you might not be for somebody else. You know, it is what it is. You know, so I say go check it out. Check the movie out. Enjoy it, like it. If you've seen it, drop some comments below. Let me know how you feel about it. Let me know what's your take on the movie. How many times did you see it? Did you see it more than once? And did you enjoy it as much as I did? All right. So like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We got more videos coming as always. This is your boy, Mr. Mars Sharp. This is Short Man Filmworks, and these are the Everyday Man's Film Reviews. I will see y'all on the next one. Y'all take care, and y'all have a good one.